Hello and welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video you're gonna learn how to counterattack the fried liver attack from white. If you don't know, fried liver attack is a very common attacking team for white, especially between elos 1000 to 1600, and I'm sure you probably saw this attack in one of your games. And if you're not familiar with that, I will now show you how it goes. So white starts with e4, you reply with e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now white play bishop c4. This is the Italian game. And now you forget, instead of playing bishop c5, you actually play knight f6, and now you see this move, knight g5, and this square is already weak and you are biting your nails what to do next, how to survive this attack. But don't worry, there is a way you can survive this attack, and actually you can counterattack and even checkmate white in this position. I will show you all the variations and all the important things you have to know about this attack of the black, about this attack of the white, of course. So white's idea actually here is pretty simple. So after white plays this move, you will have to play d5. This is the only move for you that pretty much saves you. And after picking up pawn, white actually prays that you play knight picking up on d5, and then he can create an attack with bishop taking, with knight taking on f7 here. As you can see, both your queen and your rook are forked and you have to pick up this knight. After that, white continues with queen f3 check. If you wish to save this knight, you will probably play king e6, and then white will continue with knight c3. And this is a really unpleasant position to play with. You can probably defend yourself from this position, but it's really hard to do so. White is pretty much attacking you all game, and in the end of the game you will probably finish either checkmated or you will lose a lot of material and the game will be lost. So this is the way you don't want to play fried liver attack. So we will go back. After knight g5, of course, you still have to play d5 here, and after he picks up this pawn, you have to play the following move. This is a really tricky move and you're actually preparing a lot of traps here. So you play knight d4. Knight d4, it looks like it's a completely dumb move, but actually it has his own idea and it has his own point. I will now show you, of course. In most of these positions, white still aims at this pawn, and white still wants to pick up this pawn, and he wants to take your either queen or your rook. So in most situations, white will play d6 here, aiming at this. Now your reply in this position is to pick up this with your queen, and white will still be greedy. Of course, white can either pick with his bishop or his knight. We will firstly show you what will happen if he picks up with this bishop. So if he picks up with the bishop, you're a pawn down, but it's nothing too scary. You simply play with your king on e7. Right now this bishop is under attack, and white has to act quickly, because in the next move, if he doesn't play anything of this and he simply develops his pieces, you have h6 here, and with this move either this knight will fall or this bishop will fall. That is why white will be forced to actually move this bishop to b3, and you will of course accept this, knight taking on b3, a taking on b3, and you will play h6 here. As you can see, there is not that many spaces for white. In most situations, actually, white will play knight f3 here. After they move their knight to f3, you continue with e4. You are still attacking this knight, and right now white will probably play queen e2 in order to pin your pawn, and actually you will not be able to pick up this knight, but you don't care about that. You simply play king f7, and right now white is in a lot of trouble, because firstly, if he plays knight h4, you simply play g5 and his knight is trapped. His knight will simply fall. There is no other squares he can put him to safety. And after this move, if he plays pretty much the only left move for him to play, because all of these places are defended, he must move to g1. After this, you can continue with pressing with bishop g4, again attacking this queen. And if he decides to play f3, which is a huge blunder, we continue with picking up this pawn. And if he decides to pick it up, no matter how he picks it up, For example, if he picks it up with this pawn, you simply play rook to e8 and you pick up his queen, and his queen is lost. So this is the line if he picks up with his bishop. Just a note for you, if you find yourself in this position, most of the people will not actually pick up with their bishop, they will pick up with their knight, and we will now go back to our position. So after knight g5 and of course d5, e taking on d5, knight d4, d6, queen d6, if black decides to pick up with his knight, this is actually what we are hoping for. After this move, we will continue with queen c6, a really tricky move. The point of this is to actually trick white in order to think that we want to pick up his bishop. And white will probably pick up our rook, but actually that's not the point of our move. Point of our move is to actually pick up this pawn here. And right now what follows is a beautiful checkmate if white is unable to see it, of course. Probably he will be forced to save his rook. The only place is to go on f1. After that we will check him on e4 with our queen. And right now there are two possibilities for white. If white decides to put his queen, obviously he's giving out his queen and we will pick it up with our knight. And if he doesn't want to do that, for example, after queen e4, if he decides to put his bishop in the defense, then we have a beautiful checkmate with knight f3. So this is a beautiful counterattack and a way you can checkmate your opponent, and this is the 10th move. So a really nice resource you have in this opening and a really tricky position for white. Usually white will not be able to notice these kind of things, especially in lower elos where this sort of attacks happens. Most of the time black doesn't know how to reply, and this is one of the ways you can actually reply. I will show you some other lines as well. So for example, after knight d4, if white decides to play c3 here, he's for example aware of your attack in some way, you continue with b5. Right now counter-attacking this bishop, white will usually pick up your knight, you will pick up his bishop, and now white will probably pick up your another pawn here and attack your knight. You won't be panicking at all, you will simply pick up this pawn here, and if white decides to pick up your knight, you will pick up his knight, and after this you will play bishop g7. And although it looks like your position is not that good, actually you have a bishop that is working, you have another bishop that is working. Your king is still unsafe, but you will castle it in one or in the next two moves, and your position is far better. For example, white still has this threat here, and he can reply in different ways. For example, if he decides to castle immediately, you will continue with bishop b7, immediately creating a checkmate threat. For example, if in this position he decides to play g3, you will continue with castling on the queen side, and you will continue your attack. You have different ideas here. As you can see, this field is weak. One of your ideas you can play on is to actually give a checkmate on the white squares. As you can see, white squares are really weak. White created some huge weaknesses, and this is the way you will be able to play on. Also, you can switch your queen to, for example, later in the game to b5 and attack this pawn. As you can see, white cannot move his pawn on b3. This pawn is another weakness in white's position, so this is the way you can play on this. This is perfectly playable position for black, and actually at this moment black is doing, by computer evaluation, 3.72 point better than white. So this is a practically won position for black. So that's how good your position is if you are black. Of course, white might try something else here. So instead of going g3, he can maybe try and play f3. Then you will continue with bishop d4 check. King will probably go on h1. You will continue with rook g8, attacking this pawn and creating a checkmate threat. And now if he decides to play queen e2 check, again nothing too scary. We will simply go with our king to d7. There is no way he will pull out our bishop from this square here. There are no any pins. He's forced to leave his queen here, and again a really scary situation for white. Again, huge advantage for black. You have to protect this this bishop is snipering on the king, this bishop is as well snipering the king, and one of your next idea will be to put this rook on e8 and completely take over the position. So this was all I prepared for you today. Hopefully you got some really nice ideas how you should play in this position. If you like this video, please make sure to leave a comment, like and share. And of course, if you have some other ideas, I will be posting the similar videos, for example, another opening traps on my videos, and actually showing them one by one. I will not be showing them all in group because it's usually a longer video, and this way is easier to explain. And of course, please let me know your comment if you found yourself in this sort of position and you didn't know what to do. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see each other in the next video. Have a nice night. Bye bye.